Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar, SmartStart Dashboards. Today's webinar is part of a series of webinars called SmartStart Onboarding, which is your introduction to best practices for working with different capabilities within Smartsheet. Our agenda for today is to really focus on dashboards, but of course, dashboards bring together information that you already have in sheets or reports. So we are going to start out today reviewing how these different items work together and those relationships. We'll then move on to learning about widgets, so all of the different widgets that make up a Smartsheet dashboard. And then we will spend most of our time today in a demo, so seeing these different widgets and capabilities in action. Lastly, I'm going to finish up with a few dashboard design tips to really make sure that the dashboards that you're creating not only have the right information, but also look good and are easy to read. And then, of course, share some resources and next steps to continue your Smartsheet education. When working in Smartsheet, sheets are the source of all the data that you're going to be working with, regardless of where else you are doing your work. So if your goal is to create a dashboard, the data in your dashboard is going to start out in a sheet. A dashboard can really bring together all of the important information from those various sheets. Another way to bring together information from multiple sheets is to create a report. And a report in Smartsheet has several different focuses. So a report brings together rows from multiple sheets. It lets you really create a custom view by adding in filters to only show rows that match certain criteria, and by grouping together common data, and even by summarizing, so introducing functions. And the great thing with reports is those functions are pre-built, so you don't have to write a formula. The reports are able to roll up information for you. As I mentioned earlier, if you need to dive a little bit deeper into one of these topics, so sheets or reports, we do have a dedicated SmartStart session focused on each of those. Lastly, dashboards really bring together all of that information, so they're fully customizable, and you can surface real-time data that lives in a sheet summary, or a report. And in addition to that, so most people, of course, think of dashboards as a way to surface data and really focused on the information, the charts, and the graphs. Your dashboard is fully customizable with drag and drop widgets. You can then share your dashboard either directly in Smartsheet, just like you would share a sheet, or you can publish it, make it externally available, or even embed it. When working in a dashboard, you're going to use 8 different types of widgets to create and surface and customize all of this information. And I like to think of these 8 really with 3 specific purposes. You're going to format your dashboard, so really add that additional text and images and make your dashboard clear and communicate exactly what's important with a title widget, a rich text widget, and an image widget. You're then going to surface data from your sheets and reports, and that data is real time. So every time you open or refresh a dashboard, it'll reflect what's in those underlying items. And you're going to do that with a metric widget, a report widget, and a chart widget. And then lastly, I talked about really making sure that your dashboard is a single source of everything that's needed for the work that you're managing. And you can do that with a shortcut widget, linking out to those critical and commonly accessed files and URLs. And you can do that with a web content widget. And that web content widget is really the one that's going to let you embed items directly into your dashboard from external sources. We're going to head into our demo in just a moment now, and I do want to mention that as we have for the last several SmartStart onboarding sessions, we're going to continue to use the strategic plan template set. A template set or a template can be found in Smartsheet by clicking the plus button in the left panel when you're signed in, And anytime you see the words template set, you know that you're downloading more than just a single sheet template. So a template set typically includes several sheets, reports, and at least one dashboard. And these are items that you can download and use for your own Smartsheet work. As always, of course, a license is needed to create or own items in Smartsheet, so these template sets are available for anyone with a license. The strategic plan template set that we're using for today's demo came with a dashboard that's going to surface critical information from our underlying sheets, reports, as well as sheet summaries. And this template set also includes additional information like links, shortcuts, text, and images. We're going to take a minute to review the underlying sheets and reports that we're going to then surface within this dashboard. So to review our process that we're managing with this template set, we have two separate projects that we're managing. So we'll start our focus with our project plan A sheet, and this is a pretty typical project sheet. We're also using our sheet summary in the right panel here to capture some of those more high-level metrics and formulas that don't fit into our sheet structure. Back in our template set, we also have reports, which is a great way to bring together data from multiple sheets into one place and create a custom view with filter criteria. We have two different types of reports, so we've created several row reports, which bring together the actual rows from your sheet. And here, for example, we have a row report that's going to show us all of the tasks assigned to the person currently viewing our report. We also have a sheet summary report, which takes just the data in that right panel sheet summary, and we can bring that together to create more of a portfolio view. So sheet summary already rolls up data at a higher level, and bringing that together, we can now have data that really helps us understand all of that critical reporting we started with in our sheet summaries. Reviewing all of this really sets us up for working in our dashboard because all of that data is the details, and our dashboard is a place where we can really surface exactly what's critical. You can build a dashboard from scratch, which means starting with a blank slate and adding in widgets to really create the information you need, or you can also download dashboards as part of template sets like we've done today. Either way, to get started adding or editing widget, just select the pencil in the top right, and then you can click the plus to start adding in your widgets. When I'm working on my dashboard, I'll typically head into the dashboard settings button and change my background to gray. Now I usually leave it white for the rest of the time because the widget backgrounds are white and everything looks a lot cleaner and easier to read. But with a gray background, you can clearly see each separate widget, so you can really understand the structure of your dashboard and makes it a lot easier to continue to customize from this point. As we discussed back in our slides, I like to think of the widgets in my dashboard with really three separate purposes. One, formatting. So formatting can be done with a title widget, as you can see here with the strategic plan, as well as some of these dark blue sections to title and organize my dashboard. A rich text widget, which is a way to add text, and it's a good place to have some of these housekeeping notes or provide a summary of what the purpose of your dashboard is. And lastly, an image widget. And here, for example, we've left a placeholder where you can replace this with your own logo or any other type of image from your computer or from cloud storage. You can turn any image into a button within your dashboard by defining the widget behavior. And this basically tells Smartsheet what happens when someone clicks on this widget. As a default, this says take no action, and that's because most dashboards, of course, are created for viewers, but I can add in additional images to use as buttons and define the widget behavior, especially in this case, for example, telling Smartsheet, let's open another site. For example, if someone clicks on my logo, let's take them to smartsheet.com. You can add in additional images to direct users to other locations and resources and really make sure that your dashboard is not only functional and helpful, but also sometimes adding in those images as buttons is easier to navigate through than only using our shortcut widget. This widget behavior is something you can customize for most of the widget types within your dashboard as well. So our three formatting widgets, the title widget, the rich text widget, and our image widget, are going to be used to really organize and make sure that the data that you've added to your dashboard is easy to understand. You'll also see that I've added in a widget that is really just a horizontal line, and I can incorporate this throughout my dashboard to organize the information that I'm working with. The three widgets that we're going to use to surface data from our underlying sheets and reports are going to be our metric widget, our report widget, and our chart widget. So we'll start by talking about those first two. A metric widget is a way to add in data specifically from cells that you have chosen from your sheet or your sheet summaries. So it really takes the data outside of your grid, so you're no longer working with columns and rows, and really focuses that data. A report widget, on the other hand, sticks with the grid. So it's a way to embed those reports we've created directly into your dashboard. And we'll look at how to do that in a moment as well. This dashboard that we're working with, though, doesn't have any metric widgets. So I do want to go through the steps to add in those so you can really see them in action and share a couple tips when incorporating them. Now, because metric widgets focus on one or several cells worth of data, I typically use them for really important high-level information that I want to surface in my dashboard. And if I need to include a lot of data, I'll stick with a report. So for my metric widget, I'll select Add Data, and I can then locate the sheet that I want to surface data from. For example, if I want to capture the percentage completion of my project A, I can head into the sheet and simply select the cell or multiple cells, whatever I need to surface in my metric widget. I can also use a metric widget to surface data from our sheet summaries that we've built. And this again, if, for example, I had a dashboard that was only focused on project plan A, I have a wealth of information in my sheet summary that I can then surface. I'm going to instead pick my percent complete for project A and select OK. And I now have one cell in my one widget. So I usually like to make this a little bit more important by changing my layout from side by side to stacked. And we'll come in here and format it additionally. So I'm going to make this quite a bit larger, and I can relabel it from the default, which is the name of the column. I'm actually going to call this project A. And lastly, I'll come over to the right panel and remove the title, which is the light gray bar that's going to be at the top of our widget, because we don't really need that when we're working with a single piece of data. I can then resize and either drag my widget exactly where I need it to go, or I can click on the three-dot menu and actually cut and then paste my widget at the very top of my dashboard. I can then move my other widgets around with a really easy drag and drop, and I'm going to add in a couple more of these metric widgets, and I can do that really easily by copying and pasting. We'll then go ahead and go into our project plan B sheet, and we'll select that exact same piece of information. We'll then reformat it, and I'm going to relabel this one as well to say project plan B. Now, our metric widgets, you can indicate one or more cells. So even though I've only selected one piece of data, you can absolutely select multiple. And it really helps to focus on a few critical pieces of data to keep these metric widgets clean. And you can see it's really that important information that we want at the top of our dashboard. When it comes time to having more than just a couple pieces of data, that's where we can actually add in our report widgets. So you can see at the bottom here, I've already added in some of the reports that we have. So I've added in a report that shows all of our in-progress tasks, as well as a report that shows all of our at-risk tasks. And we can come in here and add in another report, the one that we created that's going to show current user tasks. I will select Add Report, and we can go locate that in our same template set. And to review, this report was a way to see tasks that are assigned to the report viewer only. And that can actually be respected within the scope of our dashboard as well. By heading into viewer mode, you can indicate to Smartsheet, do I want this report to show last widget editor, which is a way to say, show the tasks of whoever added this report. This means anyone who looks at my dashboard will see my tasks, not their own. Or I can say from their own perspective, and this means anyone who looks at my dashboard will see the tasks assigned to them. And this works when your report is set for current user and you select their own perspective here in the report widget editor. Similar to what we did with our image widget, I can define the widget behavior. So let's say I want to open the data source, meaning when this report is clicked on, we're going to open the report. And I can add in additional formatting, hide or show that Gantt chart, which is available when you have 2 date columns in the report, and really customize how this looks. Similar to the other widgets, I can pick up my report and drag and drop it if I need to rearrange where it goes within the scope of my dashboard. Reports within a dashboard work just like reports outside of a dashboard. So it's going to have real-time data showing information from our underlying sheet. Our third way that we're going to surface data from our underlying sheets and reports is with a chart widget. And a chart widget is great because it can show data from any of those sources. So far, metric widgets are showing data from sheets, report widgets are showing data from reports, but we can chart and graph and really visualize data from any of those locations. We'll take a look at some of these charts we already have, and this is coming from our roll-up sheet that came with our template set. And in this sheet, we have used cross-sheet formulas to calculate some of these metrics. So really understanding high-level information about how many tasks are assigned to each person, budget information, and so on. If you are new to formulas or simply new to formulas at Smartsheet, you can head over to the Learning Center by selecting Help in the bottom left here and selecting Help and Learning. Our best practice webinars learning track is where you can find several different webinars about writing formulas. So this will really help you understand the structure to writing formulas and creating the information that you need to power your dashboard. Our first chart here is going to show that initiative data. So it's really showing this section down here. Our next section here looks at the user information. And again, we're just walking through the steps to see how this is built, and we'll add in our own chart in just a second. Lastly, we have a section with tasks by status and financials by category. So we're visualizing all of this data from our roll-up sheet. To add in our own chart and graph, just like we did with all the other widgets, we'll click the plus button and select chart and add data. And my data source can be a sheet or it can be a report. And I'm going to come in here and actually select a roll-up sheet so we can recreate one of the charts that we already have, and then we'll create a chart from a report as well. So let's say I need to select a way to visualize just these 8 cells. So how many tasks are in each completion status? I'll highlight those cells, select OK, and then I can come in here and select my column type. And Smartsheet is going to give me all of the columns because of the type of data that I'm working with, but depending on the type of data you have, some of them might be grayed out. In this case, I'll go ahead and select a pie chart, And you'll see that Smartsheet has assigned colors and created my pie for me. And I have a couple different customization options here. So I can add or remove the title to my widget just like we've done before. And we can come in here and display this, either the pie or the donut, as a semicircle, which I think is a little bit cleaner to read. And one of the things that I typically do is to actually change the colors. So my typical approach for making sure that my charts and graphs look really good is to use different shades of the same color. So I'll come in here and select lighter shades of blue as we continue through. And you'll see as I do that within my dashboard, this is going to help it look a little bit nicer rather than having every chart and graph have the same primary color and look a little bit less cohesive. Once I'm done with creating my chart or graph, just like with any other widget, I can resize it and I can drag and drop it to move it around. Our next chart that I want to add is going to be powered by our underlying report that we created called Portfolio View. And to review, this is a report that is going to show information from our two sheet summary sections. Now, as we talked about, reports are dynamic. So every time I open a report, it's only going to show data that matches the criteria of that report. And because of that, with a report, I can't select a specific cell because that cell might not be there next time if the data in that row no longer matches my report criteria. Instead, a report selects all of the data. Instead of having all of my columns included out of my report though, I can come in here and select the columns that I want to visualize. We can then select the type of chart. And just like I've done before, I can define my colors, and I typically leave red, especially to mean something bad. And I'll want to change these and come in here, and I'm just going to choose another shade of blue. So you'll see my charts are looking quite similar, and it really provides a clean, easy to read, cohesive look to my dashboard. I'll then add in my labels, resize my widget, and I'm going to keep my title, but I'm going to go ahead and rename this. Since I have a smaller space I've allocated for this particular graph, I'll go ahead and also move my legend to the very bottom here. So to review, we've now used our 3 widget types. So the metric widget, which is going to surface specific cells from your underlying sheets, our report widgets, which is a way to embed reports directly into your dashboard and include that Gantt chart if you have the 2 date columns to support it, as well as our charts and graphs, which can be used in a variety of ways to surface information either from sheets or reports. So far we have formatted our dashboard. We've used the text and the title and the image widgets. We've used these 3 widget types to surface underlying data, and we now can talk about really making sure your dashboard has external data. And one way to do that is to use these shortcut widgets that we've added in. And a shortcut widget is pretty straightforward. So I'll select my widget type, and I can add in websites, attachment to files that are stored on the cloud, so Google Drive, OneDrive, or Smartsheet items. And this last item type is internal to Smartsheet employees, so no worries, you should not be seeing this within your own account. Once I've created my shortcut widget, just like we did with our metric widget, I can choose how I want to see those items, and I can drag and drop and move this widget around. I'll go ahead and actually delete this one because we do have 2 shortcut widgets up here at the top already. And I can move my widgets around a little bit just to clean up my dashboard and really stack everything together. One thing that I want to mention as a best practice for myself is that I typically don't try to do this part where I'm making sure everything fits together and looks nice until I'm done creating my dashboard. And that's because if you focus on making sure everything fits throughout building your dashboard, you'll really just have to keep moving things around as you think of more data that you want to add. The last widget type that we're going to look at is our web content widget. And the web content widget is really powerful, and it's a great way to bring together external data into your dashboard. So I can embed information that's in Smartsheet, but not a sheet that we looked at. So I can, for example, head into one of the sheets that we started with, our project request sheet, and I can pick up a form that we have that is powering this sheet, which we looked at back in our collaboration SmartStart webinar. And I can embed this form directly into my web content widget. Now this form can be visible and completed by anyone who visits my dashboard. I can also, a common question that I get is, can I show different Smartsheet views? So the card view or the calendar view, for example, within my dashboard. And I can do that. All I need to do is actually head into one of my sheets. Let's say we want to switch over to the card view, which we looked at in our Sheets webinar. I'm going to publish my sheet from the right menu here. And I can select my view for my published view and copy that URL. And then we can add this view into our dashboard as well. So selecting web content widget and adding our URL. And I can also embed views that are part of Smartsheet's premium app. So if you're working with our dynamic view or our calendar view, for example, all of that can be embedded into a dashboard as well. You can also embed data from Power BI and Tableau for additional charting information. You can embed in videos from YouTube, Google Maps, as well as Bing Maps. You can embed in Microsoft PowerPoint or Excel or Word Online, really different types of capabilities that are going to take your dashboard from just focusing on what you're doing in Smartsheet to both linking out to external tools and external files and embedding external data like videos, training, slides, etc., to really make your dashboard a one-stop shop for all this work that you're doing. Once you're done with your dashboard, you can just head into the Edit Dashboard section. And as I mentioned, I'll typically change my background color back to white. When it's time to share your dashboard, you'll notice the same share button that you have seen in our sheets as well as our reports. And one difference here is that a dashboard actually has just two permissions: viewer and admin. So those middle permissions, the editor and the editor can and cannot share, aren't available on a dashboard because a dashboard isn't a place where you make updates. Your updates are going to take place in those underlying sheets and reports. Similar to the publish capability that we just took in our sheet, we can head into File and Publish our dashboard, making it available at a publicly accessible URL. And you can use this embed code to embed your dashboard into a website or external resource like Microsoft Teams. So for a quick review, as we come back into our slides, I know we took several different steps with our dashboards today to familiarize ourselves with the 8 different widgets that you're going to drag and drop to create and customize your dashboard. These widgets really fall into 3 categories. So we're going to format and really provide the structure, context, and organization with our title, rich text, and image widgets. We're going to use the metric, report, and chart widgets to surface that real-time data from our underlying sheets and reports. And lastly, we can incorporate our external content, so linking out with shortcut widgets and bringing information in by embedding videos, maps, documents, and charts and graphs using that web content widget. A few additional design tips before we finish up for today. As I mentioned, my typical best practice is to start adding in all the information that I need before I start thinking about design. It's important to make sure as you look at your dashboard, Do I have all the important information before you put in those steps to start making it look nicer and designed and cohesive? I typically go with a white background to make sure that all of my widgets, which also have a white background, blend in and everything is clean and easy to read. And as I design my dashboard, I typically define consistent colors and themes. So I will select the size of my font, the colors of my font, and as I showed in our demo, I like to select multiple shades of the same color for each of my charts instead of having the primary colors in each of my charts, which can be a little bit jarring. With the custom colors where you can actually define your own brand colors, that adds another element to really streamline how your dashboard is going to look with consistent design. To work more efficiently in your dashboard, you can use a keyboard shortcut to cut, copy, and paste widgets. And one thing that I didn't show you, so we looked at how to cut, copy, and paste within the dashboard. You can actually cut, copy, and paste widgets from one dashboard to another as well. So this is a really great way to copy those common colors and themes that we talked about. It's also a great way if you're looking at one of our dashboards from a template set and you want to copy our divider line, for example, you can easily copy that into your own dashboard. Our last couple tips that I'll share is you can define widget interaction. So we looked at this with turning image widgets into buttons, but report widgets, metric widgets, those are widgets that you can customize what happens when your viewers click on them and really add that additional element of interactivity and direct users to where they need to go when they click on a widget. Lastly, today we've talked about building your dashboard, the different widgets that are going to be used to create your dashboard, as well as sharing your dashboard. And one additional tip that I want to mention is that in the top right of your dashboard, you'll notice there's a couple buttons. One allows you to present. And presenting your dashboard moves it into full screen. So it's a really great way to just pull up a dashboard in a meeting and have that live real-time data without having to take screenshots and add them into decks. And you'll also find the option to auto refresh and define how often you would like that to happen. So whether you're presenting full screen in a meeting or in the office, you may have a Smartsheet dashboard on a monitor that users can walk by and see information at a glance. You can auto refresh to make sure the data you're looking at is real time and up to date. So before we finish up for today, I do want to share some additional resources as always. Today's session is part of the SmartStart onboarding series. So our focus today was on looking at dashboard structure, but there have been several webinars that have brought us to this point. To learn more about any of the topics that we've discussed or you've come across in Smartsheet, visit the Learning Center by heading to smartsheet.com/learning or selecting the question mark in the bottom left of your Smartsheet. And as always, you can visit the Solution Center to download free templates for managing your work or access additional instructor-led and on-demand training as well as certification as part of Smartsheet University. To connect with others, our community is a great place to see what other Smartsheet customers are doing and asking and to learn from each other. And of course, if you need any specific help with your own work in Smartsheet, our support team is available to help as well. Now we have come to the end of our time today, and as always, I do want to thank everyone for joining, and I hope to see you in some of our upcoming webinars.